This includes muting your live stream broadcast and your smart devices to reduce the sound distortion. Please note that call-in testimony will be combined for both support and opposition and will be taken after all primary witnesses have testified. Primary witness testimony is limited to 4 minutes total for each side. Also, please be advised if you're a primary witness calling in, you will remain on a live line and will need to mute yourself until you are called on to speak. All additional witnesses will be limited to stating their name, organization, and if they represent one, their position on the bill. I also want to note that we are accepting written testimony through the position letter on the letter portal on the committee's website. And thank you for bearing with us as we implement methods to continue to serve the people of California. Today we have 15 bills, 5 of which are in consent. We will start as a subcommittee since we do not have quorum at the moment. But let's start off with Assemblymember Connolly's AB99 today. So you may begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, chairs, members. Honored to be able to present on AB99. AB99 would require the California Department of Transportation, otherwise known as Caltrans, to develop and adopt a statewide policy that uses integrated pest management in counties that have restricted pesticide use locally. This bill also requires Caltrans to include in its statewide policy a restriction to use pesticides except in specified circumstances, such as wildfire risk or to control invasive pests. Finally, AB 99 also requires Caltrans to make publicly available their pesticide use, as well as notification of when they intend to spray pesticides 24 hours in advance. Members, the goal of this bill, simply put, is to rein in pesticide use by Caltrans. Pesticides, which is an umbrella term that includes herbicides and insecticides, are substances that are meant to control pests but are quite harmful to human health and the environment. Numerous studies have found pesticides to contaminate groundwater and cause harm to both humans and wildlife. In light of the harms of pesticides, Marin, Sonoma, Mendocino, Humboldt, and numerous other counties have adopted IPM and restricted the use of pesticides locally. In some counties, there is a complete ban, for example, on glyphosate. Even though local government has taken such actions, they have no authority over Caltrans, who have jurisdiction over the management of state highways. This bill would bring Caltrans vegetation management operations in line with local action in counties that have already taken action to either ban or restrict pesticide use locally. I should note that Caltrans technically have a policy in place to use IPM that prioritizes the least harmful methods, but it does not appear to have resulted in any meaningful reduction in pesticide use. As a matter of fact, on Caltrans' website, glyphosate is indicated as the primary tool used for roadside vegetation management as we speak. This bill would add additional guidance to Caltrans on when the use of pesticides is permissible. And with me today to testify in support of this bill, I have Megan Cowan with Healthy Highways Coalition and Sonoma Safe Ag Safe Schools, and Patty Clary with Californians for Alternatives to Toxics. Again, thank you for your time, and are we going to start with you, Megan?
Thank you so much, Colleen. Right before, very quickly before your witnesses begin, I'd like to capture this moment and let's establish quorum. So, Madam Secretary, if you could please read, or establish quorum.
To establish quorum, Lee.
Here.
Lee here. Hoover.
Here.
Hoover here. Arambula. Here. Arambula here. Bauer-Cahan. Connolly.
Here.
Connolly here. McKinner. Pacheco. Ta.
Here.
Ta here. Zuber.
Here.
Zuber here. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Megan Cowan, and I represent the Healthy Highways Coalition. AB 99 is very personal for members of my community and dozens of others throughout the state that have, in some cases, spent decades trying to move the dial on Caltrans' reliance on pesticides for non-emergency maintenance. Local jurisdictions are finding ways to reduce pesticides, but Caltrans has failed to follow suit. The impacts that I've seen have been drastic. I work with community members who live along state highways and have through-the-roof levels of glyphosate in their bodies, community members who are scared to open their windows in the spring because the chemicals Caltrans uses contributes to their kids' asthma and rashes. Something as simple as a notification before spraying would, as is included in this bill, would be very important to my community. In Sonoma County, Caltrans uses 30 times more pesticides per road mile than our county government. Think of the unnecessary risk this poses, not only to the state employees who drive spray trucks, but the people walking, riding their bikes, waiting at bus stops, or our homeless neighbors who live along state highways. Caltrans has the tools to decrease reliance on this outdated technology that also contributes to pesticide-resistant invasive species. If we can stop doing this and step forward, our roads have the potential to become assets rather than liabilities. Imagine roadsides functioning as habitat corridors. For example, pollinator highways have been shown by the Florida Department of Transportation to crowd out and kill invasive plants and insect species, clean air and water, stop erosion, which clogs culverts and leads to expensive repairs, combat climate change, and decrease maintenance costs by 30%, while increasing ecosystem services by over $500 million annually. These ecosystem services are mostly crop pollination, which could be a boon for California nut and fruit farmers. There's a better approach to road maintenance that would benefit everyone, Caltrans, farmers, and communities, all together if we could just see past this chemical status quo. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My name is Patty Clary. I'm Executive Director of Californians for Alternatives to Toxics, also known as CATS. Our members throughout the Northern California region are concerned about the risks involved with releasing toxic materials into the environment. From our founding in 1980, we are opposed to the use of herbicides on road and highway rights-of-way. In 1989, Caltrans stopped using herbicides in District 1, including Del Norte, Humboldt, Mendocino, and Lake counties, when CATS threatened to sue the agency for ignoring CEQA analysis of its herbicide program. The boards of supervisors of Humboldt, Mendocino counties asked in 1997 for a continuation of vegetation management without herbicides, and Caltrans agreed. District 1 then convened a District Roadside Vegetation Management Alternatives Committee, of which I was a member for its duration of 21 years. Success was achieved for some of the alternatives that were studied, but other promising ones were dismissed by Caltrans without further effort to explore their viability, and these remain available for a closer look. According to the chair of Humboldt County's Board of Supervisors, quote, "To our knowledge, there have been no reports of safety violations, vehicle accidents, roadside fire ignitions, spread of noxious weeds and invasive plants, or other problems caused by the cessation of herbicides and vegetation control on rights-of-way. Both the county and Caltrans vegetation management teams apparently have perfected their roadside maintenance operations in more than 3 decades of practice by using a variety of options, the essence of IPM as described in AB99. Both counties have areas determined by state authorities as among the highest risks for wildfire and have within them multiple lane freeways and winding 2-lane highways that support freight traffic from interstate freeways. Caltrans herbicide program EIR contained an extensive description of what is as yet an unfulfilled plan for a policy of integrated pest management, or IPM, to reduce herbicide use 80% by 2012 from its 1992 benchmark of 400,000 pounds. Caltrans failed to achieve that goal by 2012, and currently they admit to using close to 421,000 pounds of herbicide formulations last year. I've learned that the agency has at long last convened an internal vegetation management oversight committee, also promised long ago in the 1992 EIR. Caltrans has begun to collaborate with others to clear its right-of-ways for fire resilience. A recent CAL FIRE grant to a Fire Safe Council was provided to remove brush along Highway 35. And a 200-acre controlled burn with Caltrans in collaboration with Fire Safe Council and others, including a tribe, is planned for Highway 101 in Mendocino County. To CATS, these are interesting mini steps, but we are deeply concerned about Caltrans' continued and even increase of herbicide use and failure to develop a statewide IPM program it had promised. The legislators' involvement by passage of AB99 will provide the needed incentive to get Caltrans moving in the right direction for its 130,000 acres of roadside under its care and the associated affected environment it impacts. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any members of the public in the hearing room who wish to testify in support? Please come up to the mic, name and organization.
Sean Bothwell on behalf of California Coastkeeper Alliance in support of the bill. Thank you. Daisy Swindler on behalf of Humboldt County Board of Supervisors in support.
Melissa Sagan on behalf of the Pesticide Action Network and Californians for Pesticide Reform in support. Thank you.
Noah Whitley on behalf of Breast Cancer Prevention Partners are in support.
Quentin Levesque on behalf of California Health Coalition Advocacy in support.
Clara Vazex on behalf of Caltrans Against Waste in support.
All right, thank you. And now, if the primary witnesses in opposition could please come forward to the desk. All right, so 4 minutes, however you'd like to split that amongst the two of you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Taylor Roshan on behalf of Western Plant Health Association and various agricultural associations. Unfortunately, we're here with an opposed position on AB99, and we think the author's efforts and the sponsors to reiterate that IPM is the de facto pest management strategy for the state of California and by Caltrans is important. And I do want to acknowledge the bill has made significant strides as of late, and we do appreciate that. Where we still have some heartburn is really around how the bill specifies that IPM is the state policy for vegetation management in one section and then contradicts that IPM policy in another by being overly prescriptive about what's in that policy. The point of IPM as a UC-defined term is to require a systems approach. It's not just use what you have available or use what's easiest, and I want to be clear, IPM does not mean pesticide-free. It requires the practitioner to consider the landscape, the pest pressure, the environmental and public health impact, the severity of the pest problem, and use the lowest risk approach for pest management first, along with a combination of tools that are appropriate for that particular location. Where we see some deviation is in the narrow exemptions in the bill. So for example, pesticides, both conventional and organic, would be prohibited from managing fuel loads until a wildfire emergency has been declared. Unfortunately, as many of you may know, a declaration often follows when a wildfire has already precipitated and there is an emergency event in place. In this circumstances, Caltrans would be prohibited from taking what would be an IPM approach, which is to dictate that public safety and managing those fuel loads is an overriding consideration, and they have to use whatever tool is most available, most effective, and with a low-risk population or low-risk process through doing that. I believe our coalition and the author want the same thing. We want a safe and healthy California and the judicious use of any pest management tool that's available to manage those issues. And we've had very positive conversations with the author's office, and we look forward to continuing those. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Tim Shestak with the American Chemistry Council. I too want to recognize the ongoing dialogue with the author's office and committee staff before today's hearing, and certainly appreciate the latest set of amendments, March 21st, including the recognized UC definition of IPM. As conveyed by my colleague, Ms. Roshan, we continue to have some of the similar concerns associated with the implementation steps that are dictated in the bill. We have proposed some amendments to address those concerns, including directing the Department of Transportation to adopt the statewide IPM policy, as well as to conform to any relevant local ordinances as appropriate, and require the department to annually report to the legislature with evidence demonstrating compliance with the IPM policy. So again, we do appreciate the ongoing dialogue, look forward to working with the proponents to find a way to make this bill workable. So appreciate the time today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now, do we have any members of the public in the hearing room who wish to testify in opposition? Please come to the microphone. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go to the phone lines. Phone moderator, do we have any witnesses on the phone line in support or opposition for AB 99?
Thank you, and if so, please press 10 at this time. We can first go to line number 40. Please go ahead. Your line is open. 40, you took yourself out. Yeah, there we go.
Hello, my name is Patty Mayall. I'm from Protect Our Watershed San Mateo County. We strongly support AB 99. Thank you.
And next we'll go to line 45. Please go ahead.
Hello, Sakura Carter on behalf of Sierra Club, California, and support. Thank you.
Next, we've got line 34.
Hi, Taryn Obaid with Families Advocating for Chemical and Toxic Safety in support of AB 99. Thank you.
Next, we've got line 50.
Yes, this is Piper with Non-Toxic Schools, Marin County, strongly supporting AB 99.
And next we have line 36.
This is Catherine Dodd from Growing Solutions, strongly supporting AB 99.
Next we'll go to line 33.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Doug Johnson from the nonprofit California Invasive Plant Council, and we are neither in support or opposition at this point. Our mission is to protect the state from the environmental and economic impacts of invasive species and working to steward our biodiversity and natural resources. So we've been in conversation with the author about some of the details of the bill that we have concern about. We look forward to continuing that discussion, and we also look forward to potentially integrating this topic into the state sustainable pest management process. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
And next we have line 25.
Hi, my name is Barbara Hooper, and I'm from La Honda Indivisible, and I'm in support of AB 99.
Next we have line 26.
Hello, this is Keon Schulman, Director of Poison Free Malibu. We highly support AB 99. There are alternatives such as hot water spray machine with no chemicals.
Next we have line 29.
Hello, this is Jennifer Height from Fog's Breath Farms in San Mateo County. I strongly support AB 99. Thank you.
Next we have line 24.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Downing. I'm from La Honda, San Mateo County, and I strongly support AB 99.
And we'll go to line 32.
Hi, this is Bettina Rose Marino from Palm Springs Wildlife Advocates. I support AB 99.
And next we'll go to line 38.
Hi, my name is Karen Odaz from Sea Hugger, and we support AB 99.
And line 42.
Hi, this is Deborah Dowling from La Honda, a concerned citizen, and I support AB 99.
And next we've got line 43. Please go ahead.
My name is Sue Brenton, and I support AB 99 as a consumer of San Mateo County farmers markets. Thank you.
And we have no further cues at this time.
All right, thank you so much, moderator. Okay, we're turning it back to the committee. We had one motion from Mr. Rambla, but any questions or comments? Mr. Zura?
Second, and I do have comments.
All right, go ahead.
So first of all, thank you for bringing this bill. I think it's a really important one. Our government agencies have missions that they have to achieve, but often there are important public interests that are not their primary one that requires us to sort of push them to do the things that are right, and especially when we're understanding more and more how harmful both pesticides and herbicides can be. I just think this is a really important bill. I also want to thank the opponents of the bill. It doesn't look to me like there's very much daylight between the two of you, and I wanted to just thank you for working with the author on this. The only comment that I have is, it sounds to me, I was looking at the language related to the emergency, and it sounds like there might be some ability to, it seems to me like there could be circumstances that are where you actually have high fuel maintenance, where fire risk is high, where you may not have time to do non-pesticide related or herbicide related things. And so I would just encourage the author to continue working with folks on that one piece. But I think this is a great bill. I think it's flexible. It doesn't prescribe things specifically. It allows Caltrans to utilize its expertise in developing the plan. And so I just think it's a really terrific bill and plan on supporting it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or remarks? Mr. Hoover?
Just want to thank the author. Won't be able to support today, but I do, as you continue to work with the opposition, certainly open to changing that in the future. But I really appreciate you continuing to work on those concerns. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further comments, Mr. Connolly, would you like to close?
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate the breadth of support and the thoughtful comments today. If I can just quickly respond to a couple things. I think as one of the opponents ended up acknowledging that the IPM definition is now completely in line with the UC IPM definition. Secondly, the emergency exception is but one exception. So it was surprising to me to have it sound like that was the sole exception. In fact, there are broader circumstances, including where no alternative vegetation management method has been proven effective. And in the case of invasive plant species or habitat restoration, if the use of non-chemical methods for prevention and management, such as physical, mechanical, cultural, and biological controls, are infeasible. So by way of acknowledging we have anticipated some of these issues, obviously welcome further factual conversations around what the bill is trying to do. With that, I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
All right, thank you, Mr. Connolly. Well, I thank you for bringing this bill forward. I believe it's important to reduce exposures to pesticide whenever possible. And I do realize that Caltrans has a challenge of having to balance its worker safety and reducing exposure to pesticides throughout the community. However, I trust that the author and the stakeholders will continue a dialogue with the administration to see how we can improve our maintenance of state roads that both protects workers and reduces pesticide use. And also want to thank your witnesses for coming, braving a stormy day all the way over here to testify. So I appreciate that. I recommend an aye vote, and we already have a motion and a second. So the motion is due pass to the Transportation Committee. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Item number 1, AB99, Connolly. The motion is due pass and re-refer to the Committee on Transportation. Lee?
Aye.
Lee, aye. Hoover? No. Hoover, no. Arambula? Aye. Arambula, aye. Bauer-Cahan? Connolly?
Aye.
Connolly, aye. McKinner? Pacheco? Ta? No. Ta, no. Zuber? Aye. Zuber, aye. So we'll put that on call.
That's on call. Thank you. All right, next we have Assemblymember Chris.